He chose my sister over me. Until Grandma spoke up at Christmas dinner. I thought I knew what heartbreak felt like, until I discovered my husband and my sister had been living a secret life right under my nose. What happened at Christmas dinner that year taught me more about dignity, family, and finding yourself than 30 years of life ever had. My name's Sophie. I'm 34, born and raised in Sydney's western suburbs. This is the story of how my perfect Aussie Christmas turned into an absolute disaster, and then somehow became my salvation. It was December 15th. One of those sticky Sydney summer days, where the humidity clings to you like a second skin. I was in the kitchen making pavlova, hoping the ancient air con would hold out. Emma, my younger sister, had come over early to help with the decorations. She'd brought fresh frangipani from her garden, their sweet scent mixing with the eucalyptus branches I'd cut from the backyard. "Soph, this tree's a beauty," she'd said, hanging the koala ornaments we'd collected since we were kids. "You and James always nail Christmas." I'd smiled, pouring her a glass of chilled Sauv Blanc, the good stuff from the Barossa. "It's not about perfect, Em. It's about family." She'd hugged me then, tight and warm, smelling of coconut sunscreen and that expensive perfume she always wore. "You're so lucky, you know. James absolutely adores you. Hope I find someone who looks at me like he looks at you." I'd laughed, completely clueless, while she held the secret that would blow my world apart. That night, James came home late from his job at the construction firm. He kissed my cheek absently, grabbed a VB from the fridge. "Big day, love?" I asked, stirring the marinade for the Christmas ham. "Yeah, busy time of year." He wasn't meeting my eyes. Should have been my first clue. Emma stayed for dinner. We ate Thai takeaway on the deck, watching the fruit bats head out for their nightly feast. She and James laughed at some joke I missed. Their eyes met across the table. I thought nothing of it. Why would I? She was my baby sister. He was my husband of 12 years. 3 days later. December 18th. I'd woken early, couldn't sleep in the pre-Christmas heat. James was in the shower. His phone buzzed on the bedside table. Once, twice, 3 times. I wasn't the type to check my husband's phone. Trust was everything in a marriage. But something, call it women's intuition, made me glance at the screen. My girl, that's how the contact was saved. Not my number. My hands shook as I picked up the phone. The message preview showed, "Can't keep doing this. She needs to know before Christmas. Can't sit at that table pretending." I knew that number. Knew it by heart. Emma. The room tilted. I sat on the edge of our bed, our marriage bed, staring at those words until they blurred. The shower stopped. I heard James humming, that old midnight oil song he always sang. I was still holding the phone when he came out, towel around his waist. His face went white. "Soph. How long?" My voice was eerily steady. He sat down heavily, water still dripping from his hair. 6 months. 6 months. While I'd been planning our anniversary trip to the Gold Coast. While I'd been helping Emma through her latest work drama. While I'd been living my bloody life. Since the footy grand final party. I remembered that night. Emma in her Roosters jersey. James topping up her beer. Me, passed out early from too much wine. He nodded, head in his hands. "Why?" The word came out cracked. We didn't mean for it to happen. Emma and I, we just clicked. Clicked? Like we hadn't clicked for 12 years. Like our wedding vows meant nothing. "Get out." I whispered. "Sophie, please. Get out." The scream surprised us both. He threw clothes in a bag. Before leaving, he paused at the door. I never meant to hurt you. But you did. I said to his back. You both bloody did. The door closed. The house felt massive. Empty. The Christmas lights mocked me from the corner. I called Emma. She answered on the first ring. Soph? Her voice was small, guilty. Come over. Now. She arrived within the hour. Wearing the bracelet I'd given her for her 30th. Her eyes red from crying. We sat on the front veranda, same spot where we'd played as kids. How could you? I asked. She started crying harder. I'm so sorry. We tried to fight it. Fight what? The urge to screw me over. You don't understand. She said. You've always had everything. The perfect job, perfect house, perfect husband. For once, just once, I had something that chose me. He was my husband, my choice. My life. But he wasn't happy, she burst out. He felt trapped. You're so organized, so in control. He needed spontaneity, adventure. Spontaneous. Like sneaking around with your sister. And you gave him that. I laughed bitterly. We're in love, Soph. Real love. Not just comfort and routine. I stood up. My legs shaky, but my resolve firm. Then I hope it's worth losing your sister. I went inside and locked the door. Left her on the veranda where we'd once shared secrets and Tim Tams. The next days blurred together. Mum called constantly. Sophie, darling, we need to talk about Christmas. I'm not coming. But it's family. We can work through this. They destroyed my family, Mum. People make mistakes. Emma's devastated. Emma was devastated. I wanted to scream. Dad was worse. His awkward silence on the phone said everything. Look, kiddo. Was all he managed. I turned off my phone. Closed the blinds. The summer sun felt like an insult. Then, on December 22nd, Nana called. Not on my mobile. On the landline. The one only she still used. Sophie Louise Harrison. Her voice was firm despite her 88 years. You answer me right now. I picked up. Nana. None of that. You're coming to Christmas lunch. I can't. You can and you will. 1 o'clock sharp. Wear that green dress I like. Nana, they'll be there. I know exactly who'll be there. Her tone was odd, determined. That's why you need to come. I don't think I can face them. Sophie. Her voice softened. Sometimes strength means showing up even when your heart's in pieces. Trust me. She hung up before I could argue. Nana. Elizabeth May Harrison. The matriarch of our family. Survived the Great Depression. Lost Grandpa 20 years ago. Never missed a Christmas. I spent Christmas Eve preparing. Not for them. For her. I showered. Washed my hair. Put on the green sundress she loved. The one I'd worn to her 87th birthday. I did my makeup carefully. Covering the dark circles. The hollow cheeks. I'd lost 7 kilos in a week. Looking in the mirror, I hardly recognized myself. But I stood straight. Lifted my chin. For Nana. I whispered. Christmas Day dawned bright and scorching. Classic Aussie Christmas weather. Families heading to beaches with their eskies and cricket sets. I drove to Nana's house in Mosman. The old Federation home she'd lived in for 60 years. Where every family Christmas had been held since before I was born. The driveway was full of cars. including James's ute. I sat in my car for a moment. The air conditioning blasting. Then walked to the door. Cousin Michael answered. Sophie. Wasn't sure you'd make it. Word had spread then. The family scandal. I walked into the familiar living room. The Christmas tree touched the ceiling. Decorations I'd known all my life sparkled. And there they were. On the sofa. James and Emma. Sitting close. His hand on her knee. My stomach clenched. But I kept walking. Mum rushed over. Oh, darling. You came. Her relief was obvious. As if my presence could magically fix everything. I greeted aunts and uncles. Cousins. Everyone except them. Then I went to find Nana. She was in the kitchen. Checking the turkey. Wearing her good pearls. She turned. Looked me up and down. Nodded approvingly. There's my girl. She hugged me. Longer than usual. I don't know if I can do this, Nana. Yes, you can. She held my face in her soft hands. Because you're a Harrison woman. And Harrison women don't break. We returned to the dining room. The table was set with the good china. The crystal glasses that only came out for special occasions. I sat between Michael and Aunt Ruth. Directly across from them. Lunch began. Prawns. Turkey. Ham. Roast veggies. The full spread. Conversation was strained. Everyone avoiding the obvious. Talking about the cricket. The weather. Anything safe. I watched James and Emma. How he served her food. How she touched his arm. How they existed in their bubble while I drowned. During the main course, Uncle Pete tried to crack a joke. So, when are we getting more great-grandkids for Nana? The silence was deafening. James actually smiled. Smiled. Like our 12 years of trying for kids meant nothing. I gripped my fork so hard my knuckles went white. Then, as plates were being cleared, Nana stood up. She picked up her wine glass. The crystal one from her wedding set. I have something to say. The room fell silent. Everyone turned to her. 60 years ago. She began. My mother stood in this very room, at this very table, and taught me something about family. She paused. Her blue eyes scanning each face. She said family isn't just blood. It's loyalty. It's respect. It's choosing each other even when it's hard. Her gaze settled on James and Emma. Some people. She continued. Forget this. They choose desire over decency. They break sacred bonds for momentary pleasure. Mum shifted uncomfortably. Mother. Quiet, Patricia. Nana's voice was steel. I'm not finished. She looked at me. And her expression softened. But others remember what family truly means. They maintain dignity when betrayed. They show grace under pressure. They come to Christmas even when their hearts are breaking. I felt tears prick my eyes. This Christmas. Nana raised her glass. I'm not toasting happiness or joy or even family. The room held its breath. I'm toasting integrity. I'm toasting courage. I'm toasting the kind of love that builds rather than destroys. She looked directly at me. Sophie, my darling granddaughter. This toast is for you. Nana. Mum protested. Furthermore. Nana continued, ignoring her. I've made some decisions about my will. Chaos erupted. Dad standing. Mum gasping. Emma white as paper. But Nana just smiled. That serene smile that meant business. This house, the beach house in Byron, my investments. Everything goes to Sophie. You can't do that. Emma stood abruptly. I can and I have. Nana was unmoved. You chose your path, Emma. You chose desire over family. Passion over loyalty. Now live with it. But that's not fair. James found his voice. Fair? Nana laughed. Was it fair when you broke your marriage vows? Was it fair when you betrayed the woman who loved you? Was it fair when you did it with her sister? Love isn't something you can control. Emma was crying. No. Nana agreed. But actions are. Choices are. And choices have consequences. She set down her glass. Now, James and Emma, you may leave my home. You're no longer welcome at my table. It's Christmas. Dad shouted. Precisely. Nana smiled that terrible smile. The season of truth and consequences. James stood, pulling Emma with him. Before they left, Emma turned to me. This is what you wanted. To turn family against us. I looked at my sister. This stranger wearing Emma's face. No. I said quietly. I wanted a husband who kept his vows and a sister who valued our bond. But we don't always get what we want. They left. The door closing with finality. Lunch continued in shocked silence. But somehow, the air felt clearer. After dessert, while others cleared up, Nana took me to her study. Sit down, love. I sank into the leather chair. Grandpa's chair. I didn't do this for vengeance. She said. I know. I did it because you needed to remember your worth. She opened a drawer. Pulled out an envelope. This is for you. Don't open it until you're home. I took it. Hands shaking. Nana. Listen to me. She sat beside me. Took my hands. I've lived a long time. Seen a lot. And I know this, true love doesn't diminish you. It elevates you. What they have isn't love. It's theft. What if I never find real love? She smiled. You will. Because now you know what it isn't. And sometimes, that's the most valuable lesson. We rejoined the family. The atmosphere still tense, but somehow cleaner. As I left, she hugged me at the door. Remember. Harrison women don't break. We rebuild. Stronger. I drove home as the sun set. The envelope on the passenger seat. In my empty house, I opened it. Inside was a letter. And a photo. The photo was of Nana as a young woman. Standing beside a man I didn't recognize. The letter explained. My darling Sophie, when I was 25, my fiancé left me for my best friend. 2 weeks before our wedding. I thought my world had ended. But your grandfather found me crying at Hyde Park. He was nobody special then. Just a kind bloke with gentle eyes who offered his handkerchief. 3 years later, I married him. Had your mother. Built a life filled with real love. That first man. Divorced within 2 years. Died alone. Your grandfather and I had 53 beautiful years. The point is this, rejection is often protection. What feels like an ending is actually a beginning. The beach house in Byron is yours now. Go there. Heal. Begin again. And remember, you are worthy of a love that chooses you every single day. All my love, Nana. I cried then. Really cried. For the first time since finding those messages. But they weren't just tears of pain. They were tears of release. I took a month off work. Went to the beach house. Walked the sand every morning. Watched the sun rise over the Pacific. Slowly, I began to heal. 6 months later, at a local book club, I met David. A widower with kind eyes and an easy laugh. We talked about loss. About rebuilding. About second chances. He didn't sweep me off my feet. He helped me find my footing. A year later, Nana attended our small wedding in her garden. She wore her pearls and that knowing smile. You see, she whispered as she walked me down the aisle. Harrison women don't break. James and Emma. They moved to Melbourne. Had a baby. Got married quietly. Mum tells me they struggle. That the passion that brought them together wasn't enough to sustain them. That guilt is a heavy foundation for a relationship. I don't take satisfaction in that. Just understanding. Last Christmas, 5 years after that terrible day, I hosted lunch at the beach house. David and I, our twin boys. Nana in her chair by the window. As I served the pavlova, Nana raised her glass of wine. To family, she said. The kind you're born into, and the kind you choose. Our eyes met across the table. And in that moment, I understood everything she'd taught me. Love isn't betrayal dressed up in passion. It isn't secrets and stolen moments. It isn't destruction disguised as destiny. Love is choice. Commitment. Respect. Love is showing up when it's hard. Love is building rather than breaking. That night, after everyone had gone to bed, I stood on the deck. The moon reflected on the ocean. The waves whispered against the shore. The Southern Cross blazed overhead. Thank you, I whispered to the night. To Nana. To the universe. For teaching me that sometimes the worst betrayals lead to the best beginnings. That Harrison women don't break. We rebuild. We rise. We choose ourselves. And that choice makes all the difference. If this story touched your heart, if you've known betrayal or loss or the struggle to rebuild, share it. Because somewhere, someone needs to know that endings can be beginnings. That betrayal can be a gift. That choosing yourself is the bravest choice of all. Leave a comment. Share your story. Let's remind each other that we are not alone. And remember, you are worthy of a love that chooses you every single day. Not just when it's convenient. Not just when it's easy. But especially when it's hard. That's the love you deserve. That's the love that's waiting for you. Trust the journey. With love and hope, Luca Mackin.